So this is Philip's first foray to Traverse City. He hails from the Midwest, but he's never been up to Traverse City. We're so pleased to have him on site the last few days. He takes his life lessons forged through the trials of SEAL training and currently helps others practically apply them to their personal, professional, and family relationships. After being honorably discharged in 2009, he's enjoyed success as a motivational speaker in business, academic, athletic, and religious environments. He's spoken to hundreds at many, many events, both international and stateside, where he tailors his inspiring stories and lessons as a SEAL. Philip is the author of The Truth Beyond My Trident, which gives a snapshot of the day in life of a Navy SEAL as he pulls back the curtain, revealing the behind-the-scenes culture of this elite group. He has his master's degree in leadership and is a life and business coach. He holds leadership webinars, mentors Special Forces candidates, and volunteers with the Anti-Trafficking Bureau, a nonprofit organization which rescues, restores, and protects children trapped in the sexual exploitation industry. Please join me in welcoming Phillip Koontz.
All right, am I on? Can you guys hear me? The one question that I have, Kate, is where's my money? It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Thank you, guys. And this is the first time I've been out speaking in front of a live audience in about 5 months. So I am thrilled to be here. And I got to tell you, the one thing that stinks the most about giving virtual presentations is the human contact and interaction. I miss it. And I tell jokes and I'm like, I don't know if these people are laughing on the other end or if it's just crickets. So if you don't laugh at my jokes today, I've got some knives up here that I can be pretty persuasive, okay? So that was a joke. You guys are supposed to just lighten up a little bit, all right? But what I want to talk about today is extremely relevant. It's one of the topics that I love talking about the most. The title of today's presentation is Overcoming Adversity. And I like this title, I like this topic for a couple of different reasons. Number one is it's extremely applicable. We're living in a different world. We've experienced a lot of change and a lot of adversity over the last 5 months. And so what we talk about over this next hour, I think is gonna help everyone in this room, both personally and professionally, learn, get some tools in your tool belt and learn how to maybe overcome adversity a little bit better in the future because we have a long road ahead of us as well too. The second reason why I like today's topic is because it is arguably the single most important aspect of the SEAL teams. Overcoming adversity and the ability to overcome adversity, especially while we're on target, directly affects the 95% success rate that we have as Navy SEALs. 95 success rate means we get the guy that we're going after 95% of the time. And I'm no stranger to adversity. As a matter of fact, I kid you not, I almost died 5 times before I saw my 8th birthday. So this presentation was definitely created by someone who is not adverse to adversity. And so the 5 times, so I was electrocuted in a bathtub. Our house filled up with carbon monoxide to dangerous, poisonous levels. My mom was passed out. It has a whole other story, but it was pretty miraculous how we got saved. The third one was I fell off a 60-foot cliff, nearly did. My dad reached behind me this last split second and caught me by my little O-ring, D-ring, by my life jacket that I had on. The fourth one was I choked on a Lego. I inhaled a Lego, and I couldn't breathe, and it was in the living room. My mom had no idea what was going on at the time. It was crazy. And the fifth one was I was born with my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 9 times. I tell people I'm ADD, and I really am ADD. I was like just active, right, from day one. So yeah, those are the 5 times I almost died before I saw my 8th birthday. So overcoming adversity is again, this is really practical. I think we're going to get a lot out of this. I love the atmosphere. Let's think of this as a living room, right? I've had a lot of fun with you guys so far. If you've got questions, feel free to raise your hand. If not, maybe for the sake of everyone watching online, maybe we can wait till the end. We'll have some time for Q&A maybe at the end. And I'm going to pass around some gear, and I've got a giveaway at the very end too. My books are out here. And so I've got a giveaway at the very end. So make sure you're all paying attention and nobody falls asleep on me. All right, we're good? We're tracking? All right. So this guy right here, his name is Butters. His last name is Butters. And Butters is a part of Bud's class 234. And he is staring at that bell right now. And that bell, when you ring that bell 3 times in training, that means you quit. That's what we call a DOR, or a drop on request. So Butters is staring at that bell. He's chosen to give in to his temporary pain and discomfort and to give up on his dream of becoming a Navy SEAL. I've got a short 20-second video clip that's going to explain the process of a DOR. And the narrator uses 3 adjectives and feelings of most candidates that I think we will relate to as well. So let's check out this video.
Dropping on request affects students differently. Some are relieved, some are embarrassed, most feel regret. For Class 234, the row of helmets will be a daily reminder there is no success like failure, and failure is no success at all.
Everybody say, don't be Butters. Don't be a Butters. I hate bells to this day. I won't ring a bell. It's just something that's like hardwired in my body. But I want for just a second for us to imagine that we're standing in front of a figurative bell in our life. We've all overcome adversity. We've all faced adversity. And what does giving up look like to you? In SEAL training, it's ringing that bell, putting your helmet down, and walking away. But what does giving up in the real world? I'm a very practical guy, so what does giving up look like for you? Maybe it looks like emotionally checking out. Maybe it looks like trying to numb through alcohol or drugs or pornography or overeating. Maybe it looks like isolation. All of us as human beings are tempted to try to quit and to take the easy way out when we're faced with adversity. Everybody is. No one on this planet is immune to it. And so today I want to encourage you to not ring the bell, but instead what we say in the SEAL teams is to earn your trident every single day. Our trident is our military insignia. It's what distinguishes us from other branches of the military, and I brought my very first trident that I was ever pinned. This is the first trident that I was ever pinned, and these we like to call these our Bird or our Budweiser. Those are our nicknames for our trident. And the pinning ceremonies of the trident are generally pretty true, the ones that I've heard at least. So we get pinned on our compound. And we'll talk a little bit more about our training here in just a second. But we get pinned by our CO on our compound, and it's like the best day of our life. And then all the guys, we go out in town right there in San Diego to an Irish bar called McPee's, where we all take off, Irish, yes, where we all take off our shirts and we stick this trident in our chest. And then all throughout the night, as we're partying, having a good time, we're punching each other in the trident as hard as we can and celebrating. And you really can't feel anything after 7 or 8 beers anyway, so it's a really good time, though. It is. But these little spikes at the end of this, they're pretty mean looking. So, but that's the first trident that I was ever pinned. So as a SEAL, we earn our trident. One of our mottos is earn your trident every day. And we're going to talk about 5 aspects today of what that really means to earn your trident as we work through and deal with adversity in our lives. This is what I like to call the 50,000-foot view of where we're going today. The first attribute we're going to talk about is preparation. The second one is positivity. The third is perseverance. The fourth is your pack, or who you choose to hang out with and surround yourself with. And the fifth is progress. And for each one of these, I have a definition. So we're all on the same page. We know what we're talking about. I have a definition and a story as well to kind of go with those. So that's the 50,000-foot view of where we're going today. Go like this if you can still hear me. You guys tracking? You good? All right, awesome. So preparation, let's kick this off. My definition of preparation is this: the action or the process of getting ready for an undertaking. It's the action or a process of getting ready for an undertaking. The one story in the SEAL teams that I think really encompasses this idea of preparation is the Osama bin Laden raid. The Osama bin Laden raid. So who here can tell me, can guess, I love a lot of audience participation, how much time do you think elapsed from when we knew where his embedded compound was right there in Pakistan to the time where we were boots on the ground and conducted the mission? How much time do you think elapsed? 5 hours? A month? 24 hours? 24 hours. Great guesses. I think I heard 6 months. Yeah, it was 6 months. I would have guessed a few hours, right? We have the world's highest value target, the guy that we've been looking for the last decade. We know where he is. Let's go get him. But instead, what we decided to do was we waited for 6 months and we built a life-size mock compound right there in Virginia Beach, and we practiced day after day, contingency plan after contingency plan for 6 months straight in order to be prepared. And what still ended up happening the night of the raid, for those of you who are familiar with Operation Neptune Spear, the helicopter crashed. It clipped its tail rudder on the wall, and not a lot of people realize how that happened. So every helicopter needs something called lift in order to keep it up. So during our mock compound raids, what we decided to do was we built a chain link fence surrounding the mock compound. So as the helos were infilling and exfilling from our raids, all the helicopter, the air that helicopter needed, all the air was going right through the chain link fence to keep it up. But that night, there was no air escaping from his 3-foot thick reinforced concrete walls. The air heated up underneath the helo. It became very thin. It didn't get the lift that it needed, and it crashed. And so the point of my story in preparation is this: even if the world's most elite team can train and practice for 6 months straight and still not be as prepared as they thought they were and should have been, I think it behooves all of us in this room, myself included, to look at our own personal lives and our own professional lives and see where we can be a little bit more squared away, which is what we like to say in the SEAL teams. So our first block of training is called BUDS. BUDS stands for Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL. It's a school, it's a 6-month-long school, and it's a punch in the stomach every single day. First phase is okay, so I got to tell the story. So there's a lot of really funny rumors about BUDS out there. As a matter of fact, so I was talking to a Boy Scout troop once, and at the very end, this 11-year-old Boy Scout comes up to me with this very concerned look on his face. He looks up at me and says, "Mr. Koontz, is it true that they give you a puppy in BUDS and they tell you to kill it at the end?" And I was in a teasing mood. I looked at him with a straight face, and I said, "Buddy, that would be such a waste. We eat them instead." and the poor kid starts crying on me. He starts crying, and I was like, "Oh man, buddy, I'm kidding. I'm just joking around. Please don't go tell your mom I made you cry." So there's no puppies in BUDS, but BUDS is 6 months long. It's divided into 3 phases. So let's get this back up on the screen for me, please. So there we go. So 3 phases, BUDS to 3 phases. The first phase, the sole job of the instructors is to get you to quit. For that first 2 months, the only job that the instructors have is to get you to quit. So my BUDS class, 254, we started with 223 guys, and we finished with 21. So the attrition rate in BUDS is about 80 to 90%, depending on what time of the year you go through and how cold the water is. So that's first phase. Second phase is all about diving. And so they teach us open circuit and closed circuit systems. Scuba is open circuit. The Draeger system, it's a German-made rebreather. That's what they teach us in second phase. It doesn't emit any bubbles, and so it's very clandestine. That's what we use. The breathing apparatus that we use in the SEAL teams is a Draeger. And then third phase is all about land warfare, shooting pistols and rifles, learning how to do individual movements, and doing some land navigation. So we spend half of our time out at San Clemente Island during third phase. But make no mistake, second and third phase is equally as grueling as first phase is. But the majority of the attrition rate happens right there in first phase. And then right after BUDS is something called SQT. SQT stands for SEAL Qualification Training. And that's an additional 6 months held right there in Coronado, California. And that's where we really get to fine-tune our skills. So everything that we learned in BUDS, we get to fine-tune our skills in SQT in order to prepare us then to get to a team. And I was on SEAL Team 10. All the even number teams are on the East Coast, and all the odd number teams are on the West Coast. So training for a Navy SEAL is around 12 to 15 months if you make it through the whole time. There's a large majority of people who get rolled back to a next class because of medical reasons or physical performance or an admin reason. So it's about 15 months or so. And then the other part of our preparation is our gear. We have to take great care of our gear. We have a phrase that you take care of your gear will take care of you. And so I brought some of my gear up here today. I think afterwards, do we have lunch after this? So afterwards, you guys can come up and look at the gear, and this is why I bring 50 pounds worth of crap through the airport is for you. So come on up here afterwards and look at it, and I'll pass some of it around. But our gear is extremely important. There's 3 lines of gear that we all have, and all 3 lines of our gear fit in something called a go bag. This is my go bag, and we would sleep next to these during the day because we would operate at night. So all of our gear fits right here in this go bag. The first line of gear is everything the clothes that you wear and anything that you can keep in your pockets. So I'm actually wearing my first line of gear right now. We had these tops modified overseas because it's around 95 to 100 degrees at night in the Middle East. And so we had these tops modified into like a breathable type material. And you'll see that I have writing on both of my shoulders here. If I'm blacked out and I need immediate medical attention, they know exactly what my blood type is and what kind of allergies to medications I have. So you'll see that I'm O positive and that I have NKA or no known allergies to medications. And it's written on both of my shoulders just in case I lose an arm in combat. They still know what my blood type is and any allergies that I might have. In our right shoulder pocket over here are 2 things. One is a VF panel. This VF panel is used to signal helos during the day. It folds out into a pretty big orange square. The other thing that we use mostly at night is something called an IR buzzsaw. And an IR buzzsaw is an infrared chem light. If those of you who aren't familiar with infrared, if I was to crack this right now and shake it up, it would still look the same as it does right now. Because with infrared, you can only see infrared through our night vision goggles. So when we're ready for extract, for the helos to come and pick us up, then we crack this chem light, shake it up. It's glowing like a Christmas tree under our nods, under our night optical devices. We attach a piece of 550 cord to it, and we swing it over our heads like this to alert the helo pilots that are flying in, hence the term buzzsaw. And they can see this because they're flying blacked out with nods as well too, and they can see this from about a half a mile away. So they come, pretty much land right on top of us. We board the birds and get the heck out of Dodge as fast as possible. So that's what we have in our right pocket. And in our left shoulder pocket here is something that's pretty interesting. And I'll pass this one around too. This is called our blood chit. According to the Geneva Convention and NATO, we have to carry on us at all times a blood chit. And this is the blood chit that I used during OIF, Operation Iraqi Freedom. It's a piece of cloth. And it has, depending on what theater of the world you are operating in, it has a bunch of different languages written on it. And basically what this says in about 11 different languages is, hey, I'm a United States soldier. And if you're reading this right now, the US will pay you a lot of money to take good care of me. So I joke around, this is kind of like the insurance policy for the government, for each operator. They spend about $1 million a year per operator to make sure we get the best gear. So they want to absolutely protect us. So I will, you guys want me to pass this around? Would you guys like to see this? Yeah, just don't get any coffee on it. Kate, can I give this to you? And then my operator number is right here. I was in Foxtrot platoon of SEAL Team 10. I was a fire team leader, so my operator number was Foxtrot 33. So that's our tops. Our bottoms, you could pretty much carry whatever kind of pocket knife you wanted to. So I'm a big fan of the Karambit pocket knife. I am soon to be the owner of Karambit.com. Really cool story behind that. But I carried the Karambit while I was on my missions as a SEAL, and I use it as an everyday carry. And I have one in my pocket right now. It looks like a raptor claw. Nobody will mess with you if you have one of these. Okay, that was funny. Just come on, guys. There we go. They're like, oh my God, really? So that's our pocket knife. And then in the right cargo pocket of every Navy SEAL is something called a blowout kit. So we are all combat medically trained to control 4 vital aspects of emergency medical care. The first one is bleeding. The second one is our airway. The third is tension pneumothorax, which is a fancy word for saying I just got shot in the chest. And the fourth one is shock. So for bleeding, we have a white powder substance in here called Quick Clot. It cauterizes the wound. It burns and hurts like hell, but it works extremely quick and effective. We have ace bandages and a lot of gauze in here. For our airway, we have something called a nasal pharyngeal, and this is just a plastic tube that we would route up through our nose and into our sinus cavity in our face to keep our airway open. We had to put these in our own faces as new guys. We showed up to the team, and a new guy is someone who just shows up, and it was like New Guy Appreciation Day because we had to put these in our own faces without using any lubrication at all. So we're shoving them up our nose, and our eyes are watering, and it's awful. So if I catch anybody sleeping during this, you better watch out, right? To control bleeding, we also have a tourniquet. Tourniquets are absolutely vital and very necessary. And then lastly is the Asherman chest seal. So if I get shot in the chest, what happens to my lungs? My lungs collapse and I suffocate to death. So a really smart guy called Asherman developed this chest seal. So if I get shot in the chest, I put this over my chest, over my bullet wound, and it will prevent my lungs from collapsing. So a really important piece of medical gear up here, and I'll keep it over here at the table for everyone to see. And then lastly, oh gosh, this is online too. So I know I can't get a verbal affirmation from everybody online watching me right now, but what the heck. Lastly, you can't tell anybody this. Please don't retweet this later on because it will crush it'll crush our reputation as Navy SEALs. But Navy SEALs carry tampons. Because it just so happens that a tampon is the exact same diameter as a bullet wound. And so we also carry tampons in our blowout kit. And believe it or not, it has saved guys' lives before. So yes, I have put a tampon in a man before, but I've saved his life in doing it. So that's our gear. That's kind of the preparation that goes behind becoming a Navy SEAL. The second aspect that I want to talk about is positivity. And my definition of positivity is a tendency to dwell on the most hopeful aspects of a situation. The time in my life where I needed positivity the most was when I was married to my former spouse. We were married for about 6 months. And she was, her chest was hurting. She was having a hard time getting out of bed. I was just finished first phase of my training. And we had a random weekend off. So I'm like, hey babe, let's go to Balboa Hospital and check out, see what's going on. They immediately gave her a biopsy, and the biopsy came back. And at the age of 28 years old, my wife was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. It had metastasized to her sternum, to her bones. And it was in 26 of her lymph nodes from her waist up. Had no idea that was coming. Hit me like a ton of bricks. She fought it. We both fought it for 4 long years, and she passed away in 2008, the day before Valentine's Day, February 13th. That was the time of my life where I needed to rely on positivity the most. And let me just say this as a caveat. Being positive is not just walking around life with rose-colored glasses on, thinking that everything's just cupcakes and rainbows, because it's not. Being positive is actually a learned behavior, and being positive is recognizing that you're going through some pretty crappy stuff, that you're going through a pretty challenging season of your life, acknowledging that and still choosing to look at the silver lining and to look at the good that is coming. So some of us are more positive, some of us are more, well, you all don't like to say negative, you like to say you're realists, right? So for all the realists in the room, I have good news for you, and that is that positivity is a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. You can teach yourself to be positive. And positivity is the most important aspect of mental toughness. It's the very first ingredient of mental toughness is really developing and learning how to become positive no matter what in life. This is a little bit longer of a quote, this next slide, but I think it's worth reading. And it's talking about the idea of positivity being a learned behavior. It's by a gentleman by the name of Galvin D. Becker. He's the author of the book called The Gift of Fear. And this is what he says. If we are to build resilience and bounce back from the struggles of life, we must take this battle of the mind seriously. We must starve, everybody say starve. We must starve false beliefs. We must repetitiously embrace the truth. And we must allow ourselves to see our situations from a different angle and engage in mindful gratitude by seeking out the subtle blessings of life within our trials. These actions literally change the pathways in our brains and result in measurable changes in our emotional stability, which gets us unstuck from our suffering. A transformed brain is a transformed life. Another question that I think it's very important to ask when we're going through adversity is who do I want to be? This is kind of like a legacy question. Who do I want to be known as at the end of this trial that I'm going through? Who do I want to be known as? Do I want to be known as someone who gave up and took the easy way out and quit? Or do I want to be known as someone who persevered and was positive and pushed through and made the right choices, even though it's hard? I had to ask myself that question when my wife was diagnosed. Who do I want to be known as? There's a lot of people who turn their back on their spouses and leave because it's just too much. There's a lot of people who choose to make very bad choices. And I wanted to be the husband that was there for her during her chemo. Her 4 bouts of chemo during her radiation. The cancer had spread to her brain at one point, and I was right there when they screwed in on top of her head the halo. And then eventually it just overtook the organs in her body, and I was right there by her bed during her last breath. Because I wanted to be known as a husband that showed up and was consistently there for my wife and supporting her during her battle. Another really good just aspect of positivity that I think it's really important to mention is mindful gratitude. It's very, very important for all of us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. And if gratitude doesn't come natural to you, what I want to challenge you with today is every day you wake up in the morning, think of 2 or 3 things that you're very grateful for. Think of just 2 or 3 things. And we live in America. There are hundreds of things that we take for granted and that we are blessed with. So just think of 2 or 3 things every day that you are grateful for. And over 30 days, you will begin to see a noticeable difference in your attitude. And then lastly, I've got to put this in there, but just stop complaining. If you're someone who has the tendency to complain, then I would just say to you what all of our parents have said to us, and that is, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Because complaining is contagious. That's the bad news. The good news, though, is that being positive is also contagious. So if you find yourself complaining, just stop and distance yourself from those people who do complain. The third aspect that I want to talk about today is perseverance. And my definition of perseverance is the steadfastness in doing something despite difficulties or setbacks. The time in my life where I needed perseverance the most was during Hell Week. Hell Week occurs during phase 1, around week 4 or week 5 of first phase. And that's where about 40% of the attrition rate occurs, is right there in Hell Week. Hell Week is where we stay awake for 5.5 days straight. So from Sunday night, when it begins, until the following Friday afternoon, we stay awake with no sleep. It's just one evolution after another after another. And the human body needs 3 basic things in order to survive. We all need heat, we all need sleep, and we all need nutrition. And during Hell Week, they take away 2 of those. During Buds, really, they take away 2 of those, our heat and our sleep. We are constantly cold, we are constantly wet, and constantly fatigued. They do feed us, though. An average day of Buds, you burn 10,000 calories. And during Hell Week, you double that. You're burning around 20,000 calories on an average day in Hell Week. So they do have to feed us, or we would absolutely just break down and die at that point. So we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and mid-rats or mid-rations around 3 o'clock in the morning. So Hell Week was full of adversity for us. And I've got a picture book down here, one of my favorite coffee table books. It's called The Only Easy Day Was Yesterday. I have it opened to a page where we're all being surf tortured. Surf torture happens throughout Buds. It's where we link arms with our brothers and we pretty much just lay in the ocean until we get hypothermia. And so all the instructors have a chart of the water. And so they take the temperature of the water. I went through Buds during a winter class, of course, so I had it the hardest, right? The Pacific at that time was in the low 50s. So the human body can only sustain the temperature of a water. If it's in the low 50s, the human body can only sustain about 10 minutes before it starts exhibiting signs of hypothermia and breaking down. And then the instructors will keep us in the water for a good 2 to 3 minutes beyond that to see if we have what it takes between our 2 ears here to persevere through that adversity and through that challenge. So one of the funny stories that I remember about Hell Week, it wouldn't be uncommon to see a white pickup truck, which we would call an ambu or an ambulance, parked right beside us during all of our evolutions that we're doing. And basically, if a guy gets hurt, they just throw him in the back of the truck, right? And then they drive him to medical. So we're all getting surf tortured. This is day 2 of Hell Week. And the human body, by the way, starts to hallucinate due to sleep deprivation around day 2, day 3. So the white pickup truck pulls up, and there's steam coming out of the back of the truck. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe, maybe I'm seeing things, right? Maybe I'm starting to hallucinate. Out of the cab steps instructor Echegaluga, who's a 6'4" Latino instructor. He comes over the bullhorn. He says, "Ladies, the nighttime is the right time. The nighttime is the right time." And he just keeps chanting this, the nighttime is the right time to quit. And so, yeah, I'm looking at the back of the truck, and after he gets done chanting, he says, so the steam was a hot tub. So they filled up a hot tub and put a hot tub in the back of the truck. But not only that, they went out and they bought 6 dozen fresh Krispy Kreme donuts. You see where this is going, right? So after he gets done chanting, he comes over the bullhorn and says, the first 6 guys to get up and quit and touch this truck can sit in the hot tub as long as they want and eat a dozen fresh Krispy Kreme donuts. And 6 guys got up just like that and sprinted towards the truck. And as I'm jackhammering and cold and miserable, I remember thinking like, wow, your dream of becoming a Navy SEAL basically has distilled down to a bath and a donut at this point. It's pretty pathetic, right? So they will go to no end to be able to make, to be able to encourage guys to quit. So Hell Week took a lot of perseverance. I think it's important to remember during adversity of having a "this too shall pass" mentality. That's one of my MOs. It's really helpful for me when I know that the light is at the end of the tunnel. And I think reminding ourselves of this and having a this too shall pass mentality helps us on a daily basis to be able to get through some of the adversity that we're facing. And trust me, I know that you guys are rising to the challenge again as community bankers of Michigan. And I know that you've been through a lot of adversity over the last 6 months. And you've done a great job. And so my job today, I just want to encourage you to continue to persevere even throughout the rest of 2020 and into 2021, especially as you work through opening up lobbies and the PPP forgiveness and all of that. You guys have done a great job. So I just want to encourage you to keep persevering. And when you find yourself stuck, when you find yourself in the mire, know that this too shall pass, that the light is at the end of the tunnel. I mentor a lot of special forces candidates, and I get one common question from all of them, and that is, hey, Phil, what is the single most important advice that you would give us when it comes to training and how to get through? And this is it. Having a one day at a time kind of mentality is very important. Just knowing that, hey, I just got to get through the day. For these guys, sometimes it's too much. Let's face it, if you've been depressed, if you've been battling with anxiety, if you've struggled in life at all, sometimes just getting out of bed and starting the day can seem like too much. And so in order to take it a day at a time, what I encourage people to do is break down your day into smaller goals. And for the guys that are going through buds, I say, just make it to breakfast. Just make it to breakfast. And once you've made it to breakfast, guess what? Just get to lunch. And then once they're at lunch, just get to dinner. And as they do that, the days are passing by and they look behind themselves and they're like, wow, I'm already like day 3 into Hell Week. This is great. What's my name again? Where am I? Because they're hallucinating, right? But breaking down your day into smaller goals, or the week into smaller goals, I think really helps with perseverance and helps get through times of adversity. And then lastly, as it pertains to perseverance is our integrity. You know, the really cool thing about our integrity is this: it doesn't stay stagnant. A person's character or integrity never flatlines and never stays stagnant. It either increases or it decreases on a daily basis based on the thoughts that we think and the actions that we perform. So what I want to encourage you to do is draw a line in the sand, because all of us are going to be tempted to give up and to give in when we're faced with really hard times. So draw that line in the sand, make it a non-negotiable, and say, I am not going to cross this line of integrity and compromise my integrity or compromise my character, because I want to be known as a woman or a man that is full of character and integrity. And I want to be known as a person that does the right thing no matter what, no matter how hard it is. So having that no compromise mentality as it pertains to your character and integrity is very, very important. The fourth P I want to talk about is our pack. And again, this is just who you choose to hang out with. My definition of pack is this: it's a connectedness with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. I tell parents this all the time: you show me your kids' friends, and I'll show you their future. Who you choose to hang out with is extremely important, because whether you realize it or not, the people you hang out with will impact you. It's very important that you pick your friends and you pick the people that you associate with very wisely. So the story of a pack in my career, I have a lot of stories of teamwork, a lot of stories of our pack, but one that sticks out to me, it's a funnier story. So it turns out that there is no trash day in third world countries. You know, they don't have trash day on Tuesdays or Thursdays, and there's no convenient white flushing toilets in third world countries. So where do you think all the trash and the crap go in a third world country? Out in the streets. But then once it accumulates in the streets, they got to do something with it. So they actually build little canals in the streets that lead to the outskirts of the cities and the towns and the villages, where all that waste just gathers, and they shovel all the trash to the outskirts of the cities and towns and villages. Well, where do you think we as SEALs land to maintain the element of surprise? Right there in the outskirts of the cities and the towns and the villages. And it just happens that under your night vision goggles, as you're patrolling into your target, that rocks and sticks and dirt look a lot like crap and trash. So our point man, whose job is to lead us as quickly and as safely on target as possible, our point man, many times as we're patrolling in, maintaining our fields of fire, we always have an eye on our point man to see where he's going. A lot of times, very often, he would just disappear. And we're like, what the heck happened to Mike? He was just like right there, right? And a lot of times, he would, under nods, he would misstep and fall into a hole up to his neck in human waste. Super gross, right? At that point, we call a timeout and we go home. No, I'm just kidding. There's no timeouts in war. No, we grab him by his H gear because we're a good pack, because we love the guy, right? We grab him by his H gear because he can't get out of that hole by himself. We grab him by his H gear and pull him out. He's soaking wet, dripping, disgusting, smells awful. We conduct a mission and then get back to the green zone where we hose him down and give him a hard time. We haze him a little bit there. So that's the pack story of just one of many of how we want to maintain each other's six. And I'll talk about that. Yes, sir. Yeah. The question was, do they do our laundry in SEAL training? Unfortunately not. Yep, no, that's our responsibility. It's like, buddy, you haven't washed your clothes in a while. You might want to do that. But with our pack, so this is, I'll show you guys a couple pictures. So this is my pack. This was my task unit over in Baghdad in 2007. We just got back from a mission. We went on 78 combat missions in 6 months while we were over there. Our op tempo was extremely quick. And so we got back, we took a family picture together. That's the most dysfunctional family you will ever see right there. You'll see that some of us have masks on. I brought with me today my mask. We would wear these masks over our faces to be able to keep the dust from the Humvees and the Helos out of our faces. And so we would wear these masks. Well, it just so happens that terrorists are a bunch of very superstitious people. So if you can imagine, there's these dark figures that are falling from the sky. It looks like we have 2 or 4 eyes based on our nods that we're wearing. We're wearing these masks, and we learned through our interpreters after 2 weeks of being in country that they gave us the nickname the White Devils, because we were snatching guys out of their bed in the middle of the night, and they had no idea that we were even there. And so they were terrified of us. They had no idea who we were or where we were coming from, but we were there to get them. They did know that. And a true story. So after the first couple of times, I went on a deployment, or I went on a mission during my deployment. We're heading back in a helo, and I'm like, what is that smell? Like, nobody stepped in the pile of crap tonight, so I know it's not them. Like, what is that smell? And I turned to one of my guys, and he's like, those are the terrorists. Those are the detainees that we're taking off target. And it just so happened that they got so scared that they lost all bodily control and went to the bathroom all over themselves. That's how scared they were. That's how terrified of the White Devils that they were. So this was in 2007. It looks like we're in Florida there, but we're really not. Those palm trees can be a little deceiving. That was in Baghdad in the Middle East. And I have down here just a basic equation that who's got your 6? Who's got your 6, which means who has your back, right? Because if we're facing the clock, 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock is right behind me. So we say, who's got your 6? Who in your life do you trust implicitly? Who in your life can you be transparent with? Who in your life can you be vulnerable with? Because we're all human. There's no Rambos out there. Rambos are fictitious. I myself need my support network of my friends and my family to get me through hard times. Here's my support network at home right now. It's my wife and my 5 kiddos. I call it your trampoline. Who is a part of your trampoline right now? A trampoline needs at least 6 legs in order to keep it up. So we, as humans, I would say it's a good rule of thumb that we all need around 5-6 people who you can really count on during hard times. And my wife is definitely one of those people who I know has my 6. With team building, there are 2 pillars, 2 most important factors in team building. Let me hear some ideas. What do you think those 2 most important factors are in team building? Trust and safety. Trust and safety. The human body is so fascinating because when we as human beings, when we are in community of trusting and safe community and people around us, our brains release oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin. That's our brain's way of saying, I like this. I want more of this. So we are hardwired as human beings to be in trusting, safe communities, which is why it's so important that we need to find people that we can trust to do their jobs, trust to be a good friend, trust, and be safe with, be open with, be vulnerable and transparent with. Does that make sense? By the way, for those of you who are managers and team leaders, this is extremely important to cultivate a sense of trust and vulnerability and safety within your team. And candor. Your team will grow. They will gel. You will be like a tight-knit community in a well-oiled machine. Third is just fighting isolation. Can I be honest with you? When I'm going through some crap, I tend to turn inward like a turtle in a shell. I just kind of pull myself up on my bootstraps because I don't want to hurt anybody else. I don't want to bother anybody else or inconvenience anybody else. So I'm good. And I'll just turn inward. That's the worst thing that you can do. I have to fight isolation when I'm going through a hard time. When I'm going through a challenging season of my life, I have to force myself to pick up the phone, call my family, call some friends, talk to people about the hard times, share with them what I'm going through. So I just want to encourage you with that. If you're anything like me, pick up the phone and fight that isolation. My role as a breacher. So in my pack, I was a breacher. There's 4 main jobs in the SEAL teams. The first main job is a sniper. I didn't have the patience to be a sniper, so I didn't choose that job. The second one is comms guy or a radio guy. I didn't have really the brains and the capacity to be able to program radio, so I'm like, eh. The third one is a medic, is a corpsman, and I didn't go to that school because that school is like a year and a half long. So that left me with a breacher, and I'm like, okay, I can be a breacher because I get to blow stuff up. I get to destroy stuff like that. I'm good at that. A breacher's job is to make sure that my boys get on target as quickly and as safely as possible. So Osama bin Laden had 3-foot thick reinforced concrete walls. Well, guess what? You got to get through there somehow. So we would carry a lot of slap charges, a lot of explosive charges on us. We would carry sledgehammers. We would carry quickie saws. We would carry just a myriad of different tools. And so this next video that I have for you is of my breacher school. And this will show you some of the tools that we used during breacher school to make sure that I myself was ready and prepared for my pack, for my boys, to keep them safe. I love explosions. You guys all want to see that again? Yeah, so this is the largest charge that we use in the SEAL teams. It's called a haversack charge. It's 40 pounds of C4 going off. So this bad boy will blow through whatever it is you put it up against. All right, let's watch it again. I'll walk you guys through this video. So yeah, I think you're turning it down for me right now. Thank you. So there's a lot of calculations that go into being a breacher. And so because you don't want a charge that's so big that's going to take down the whole house, but you don't want one that's so small it's not even going to open the door. So Petin 1.66 is that component. Petin is the explosive component that's found in C4, and that 1.66 is the number that we use in order to calculate out the size of the charge that we need. The first tool that we use, like I said, the good old-fashioned sledgehammer. That's us trying to get through doors. The second one is a the second one is a quickie saw. So those have a diamond blade, can chew through iron bars and iron gates. That's a slap charge. It will blow through doors that we put it up against. If the slap charge fails, we always use shotguns. I was telling some of the guys yesterday during the shotgun shooting that we shoot through door hinges and door frames. We also carry torches with us. Our torches burn at 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We melt magnesium as we're burning through, melting through 2 to 3 inches of thick steel. When the element of surprise is up, we pull out our manual tool called a hoolie tool, and we just go to work. And here's my personal favorite, the chainsaw. It is absolutely so fun to chainsaw through doors. And I already told you about the whole like helo ride and the guys losing bodily control because they're so scared. I'm like, yeah. You see a chainsaw coming for you, you know it's going to be a bad day. It's like, buddy, you should have been a banker instead, man. You picked the wrong profession that day at school. So the last P that I want to talk about is our progress. And progress, my definition of progress is moving forward, especially when we fail. Moving forward, especially when we fail. My story for progress is a time when I was in the teams and we were doing CQC. So I was a new guy. And a lot of you have heard me say that term already. A new guy means you show up to a SEAL team and you don't have a deployment yet. So that qualifies you, that deems you a new guy. So I was a new guy in this situation, and we had just showed up to CQC. It's combat, it's a close quarter combat, and it's a shooting school that we go to down in Mississippi. It's hot, it was August. I was down there, and it's like every single block of training is like drinking through a fire hose when you're a new guy. Well, apparently, all the guys had gotten together, and they're like, you know what? We got a great idea. Let's see how well these new guys, there's 4 of us, let's see how well these new guys can clear a room before going through the training. We're just going to throw them in the deep end. And by the way, we're going to shoot back at them as role players. And in the SEAL teams, we go big or we go home. And so everyone here is familiar with what a paintball round looks like. So in the SEAL teams, we use something called a sim round, a simunition. So this is a 9mm bullet right here in the middle. That's a ball ammo. So this is a 9mm bullet for perspective. These are our sim rounds, and this is little pellets of paint at the top. And these suckers are powered by gunpowder. And they come flying at you at about 750 feet per second. So trust me when I say this, it's the next worst thing to getting shot at, is getting hit with one of these bad boys. And if you have a squeamish stomach, look away from this next slide. But this is some of the damage that these sim rounds will cause. Nobody looks away, by the way. So that's what those bad boys look like. When you get hit with those sim rounds, you'll bleed and bruise and welt. And you saw my 7-year-old daughter in the picture. I scream like she does when I get hit with these things. So I was the first man in the fire team. I was the #1 guy. And as new guys, we had been practicing, and we were getting ready to wow the rest of our team with how well we could clear this room. And as the front guy, as the #1 guy, my only job was to get in through the doorway and to turn left into the room. That was my only job, turn left into the room. Seems pretty simple. By the way, the doorway is called the cone of death because where do you think all the bullets go? Right there in the doorway. And so your object is to get in and out of that doorway as fast as possible. So the #1 man goes left, #2 man goes right, #3 man follows the #1 man, #4 man follows the #2 guy, and we just take the room down as a pie like this, making sure that all the threats are neutralized. So I was ready. I had my weapon trained on the door. I felt the squeeze on the back of my leg, letting me know all the guys behind me were ready. It was an inward opening door. I opened that door, I flung it open, I stepped inside, and I paused. I hesitated for about a second, and guys, it was a bad day for Phil, because I got lit up by those sim rounds from the top of my head to my ankles. I was a hurting pup. And I paused because they had built a false wall right here to the left. Because I was a new guy, I didn't know any better, I hadn't been trained. My only job was to turn left, but I couldn't because that door opened and wham, it hit against the false wall. And I was like, oh crap. And I paused and I hesitated. I should have just gone right down the wall, right? But I'm like in my brain somewhere, I was like, I can't turn left. I was freaking out. And I paid the man that afternoon. I paid the man as I was doing tire pulls in the Mississippi heat in August for 2 hours with a 200-pound tire. I learned a very valuable lesson, and that is that oftentimes the road to success is marked with a lot of failure. The road to success is marked with a lot of failure. I think it was Ford said it best. He said, failure is simply just the excuse to be able to start again smarter. And so in life, we're going to fail. And as a matter of fact, when I was a new guy, oh my goodness, I wanted to impress the guys on my team. I wanted to look like a stud. I wanted to look like I knew what I was doing. I wanted to impress them. And so I was so focused on not failing that guess what inevitably happened? I failed. I failed more. Because I was so focused on not failing, I failed even more. And over time, as the weeks and the months went by, guess what happened? I actually started to see myself as a failure. And I learned a very valuable lesson in the SEAL teams, and that is just because you fail doesn't mean that you're a failure. There's a very distinct and subtle difference there, but it's extremely powerful. Failing says, hey, you know what? I screwed up. My bad. Like, I screwed up. I'll pay the man. I'll take my licks. There's a certain amount of guilt that comes with failing. That's a good guilt, right? But you take ownership for it. Failure, looking at yourself, viewing yourself as a failure, says, not I screwed up, but I am a screw up. Not, oh man, I failed. It's, I am a failure. And that's where shame comes in. And shame is extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. So I want to encourage you that if you are battling with that at times, make sure you make that very clear distinction that just because you're failing, which is a human nature thing to do, everyone fails, just own it, right? Learn from your mistakes, pick yourself back up and move forward. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. Fear is also very, very paralyzing. I know a lot of people that are so consumed with anxiety and worry and fear that it paralyzes them. It's hard for them to make decisions. What would happen in the SEAL teams if we got on target? We're like, all right, guys, let's go. And then we got so scared, we're like, ugh, and we just stood there. What would happen? The enemy would surround us and we'd die. And the same is true in life, figuratively. If you're so paralyzed by fear and worry and anxiety and concern that you aren't able to make a decision, then life's going to take you out. So just make a choice, make a decision, choose to move forward, even if it's the wrong decision. Sometimes it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back, but make sure that you're always making that forward progress. Celebrate the small victories. Sometimes a small victory is simply just getting out of bed. Maybe a small victory is like, you know what, I went 3 days without smoking. Maybe a small victory is, hey, you know what, I just had 1 drink today as opposed to 8. Celebrate the small victories if you're a manager or a team leader as well too. That will help with the intrinsic motivation of your team to recognize the small victories and to celebrate those. Very, very important that we do that, especially in making progress. So one of the other, as we close up, Brene Brown, she's amazing. A lot of you probably know her. In her book, Dare to Lead, there's a quote that is extremely powerful, and it talks about this failure. And she says, when we have the courage to look and to walk into our own stories of failure and own it, that's the whole, hey, I screwed up, I get it, I own it. When we own it, we get to write the ending. However, when we don't own our stories of failures and setbacks and hurt, they have the power then over us. They own us. Very, very important for you to stop pointing fingers at other people. Stop blaming other people for the issues that you have and start looking inward. Look at yourself in the mirror. Man up, woman up, and own your own mistakes. It's hard to do. It's hard to do, but it's necessary in our own growth and development. This poster right here is on every single wall of the platoon hut in every single task unit of every single SEAL team out there. This is the reminder, like I said in the very beginning of my presentation, this is the reminder to earn your trident every single day. This is the United States Navy SEAL Code. And I thought it'd be, you guys want to read this together? It's always so powerful when I hear, like, when together, like, we read this out loud. So this is the United States Navy SEAL Code of Honor. Okay, you guys ready? You ready to read this? Loyalty to country, team, and teammate. Serve with honor and integrity on and off the battlefield. Ready to lead, ready to follow, never quit. Take responsibility for your actions and the actions of your teammates. Excel as warriors through discipline and innovation. And lastly, train for war, fight to win, defeat our nation's enemies. I get chills every time I say it. If that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will. But that is our reminder every single day to earn our trident as Navy SEALs. So in summary, what have we talked about today? Let me hear everybody. What's the first P word that we talked about? Good. See, 3 people are paying attention. Preparation. The next one? Positivity. Good. Next? Perseverance. Next? Our pack. And then lastly? Progress. So my ask of you today, every single person has a choice. When you wake up every single day, you have a choice. No one can make this choice for you. The choice is only yours and yours alone to make. And that choice is, I'm going to give up today. I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to quit, or I'm going to earn my trident. And I want to encourage you today to earn your trident every single day. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much. You guys have been a great audience for me. And I did promise somebody a book. Will you grab one of my books for me right there on the table? So I did promise a book. So I've got one question for you. I want to see who came prepared today. Come on up. Are you guys ready for this question? All right. So the question is, let's see the slide here. What are the trident's 4 components? The first hand I see, I'll call on you. What are the trident's 4 components? They're all shy.
There's a lot of folded hands right now.
Anybody? I hear a lot of murmuring. What are the trident's 4 components? I'm feeling generous today, okay? Just somebody raise your hand. It's all good. Yeah. So SEAL is not an animal. SEAL is an acronym, and it stands for C, S-E, stands for sea, air, and land. Those are the 4 environments that we operate in. So there's 4 images in the trident that represent the sea, the air, and the land. One more time for me. What was it? So he said the pistol. I think you meant the flintlock pistol, right? Okay, for land. Yep. The trident for sea. The anchor also for sea. And the eagle for air. Good job. Give him a hand. I'll sign books. We got a bunch of books over here, so don't let me forget to sign that one for you. So I'm selling them for $15 for a signed copy. My books are up here. Part of the proceeds do go to the Anti-Trafficking Bureau, where we get to rescue girls from brothels. Huge. I mean, of all the evil that I've seen in the world, that's one of the top faces of evil. I just can't stand it. So you guys, again, thank you so much. And it's been an honor and a privilege. And if we have some time for questions, or if we need to move on, that's great. I think it's lunch, so yeah.
We got a question or two? Well, before Philip goes, and thank you, Philip, for a great presentation. I keep looking at the knife up here. It's got me preoccupied. But we're having a little pen exchange. So Philip gave me this great tactical pen here. Something else you can buy from him, because I told him last night I had one and I lost it, and I wish I still had it. Now, I bought this beautiful pen. Now, this has got the American Eagle on it. It says, "God bless America." It's got the American flag. It's got the American flag engraved in here, and it's a bullet. It's a .30 caliber bullet that was used to build this whole thing. And I bought it thinking this would be an awesome pack auction item. But my wife and my fellow coworkers told me, no, Dad, we don't think that's going to be so great. So I bought it for myself. But I am really pleased to give it to Philip so he can use it and he can still represent America like he did for all of us in his service for his country. So
Thanks, Ray. Best pen ever. Yep.
all right.